Okay, welcome to today's video. The first thing I would like you to do is open your textbook to page 323, and we're going to look at 1 through 12 that you did last night. So page 323, 1 through 12, and you're going to need to pause the video and be able to re-look at this again. But I'd like you to correct 1 through 9, and you can pause them in order to see all of these solutions. I did show work for number 7 and for number 9 on how to set those up. So pause the video and re-look at that. I want you to check that. And number 12 at the bottom should be 24 meters. Alright, if you have significant errors on this part, when you're finished with the video, I'd like you to bring that to me so that I can kind of work it out with you. But we're going to revisit this lesson. We have not completed it all. As you remember from yesterday, I did abbreviate the assignment significantly, so you will have some of that to work on in the days to come. Okay, so now I would like you to open your books to page 327. Today's lesson is on dividing fractions, and we've already hit on this. I know you've seen it a little bit in 6th grade. We've already hit on it earlier this year, but we're going to do a lot of work with dividing fractions. So if you read with me the real world link, Deandra has 3 oranges, and each orange is divided into fourths. Complete the steps below to do this problem. So 3 divided by 1/4. Okay. Now, notice that we're dividing by a fraction, and usually from elementary school you learned that when you took a number and you divided by something, you really were making the number smaller. So 12 became 4 when we divided by 3. That's usually been the pattern you've seen. Well, I want you to pay attention to what happens here. We're starting with 3, and we're dividing it into fourths. So a number that's less than 1, a fraction. And let's see what happens. So we're starting with 3, so please draw 3 oranges. And then you're going to cut each of these 3s into fourths. So notice that each of these segments represents a fourth. So when you count up how many fourths you have, notice that you end up having 12. So Deandra is going to have 12 orange slices. And notice that when we took a whole number and we divided it by a fraction, that number really became bigger. Okay. Number 1, please pause the video and draw a diagram to show 3 divided by a half. And then play the video to show the solution. So I've got 3 wholes, dividing them in halves. I'm left with 6 halves. Okay. Notice that 3 divided by 1/2 is 6. But also 3 times 2 is 6. So both of these problems have the same solution. So if you look at the connection between these two problems, didn't we just change the division to multiplication? And then didn't we take 1/2 and just flip it and make it 2/1? So we really are showing or proving the reason why dividing by a fraction is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. Okay, turn the page please. The top of the next page, this is what it looks like mathematically when we say that we are going to divide something by 3/4 is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. Notice that this very first fraction, 7/8, always stays the same. It's the division that changes to multiplication, and it's the last fraction that flips. So using algebraic values, in general, a over b divided by c over d is going to equal, a over b always stays the same, and we're going to multiply by the reciprocal of c over d, which is d over c. Okay, so here it just shows it once again that we're going to keep the first number and multiply by the reciprocal. Okay, this pattern will always be true. Down here, it's just showing you exactly what we talked about earlier this year, and we hit on it yesterday, that this complex fraction is really the same as this, saying 7/8 divided by 3/4. So when you see something written like this, if you can realize that that's the same as this, we are going to just multiply by the reciprocal of 3/4, which is 4/3. Okay. All right. Top of the next page, they talk about what happens when one of those fractions is negative. So we follow the same rule. So 3/4 divided by -1/2. We keep the first number, we multiply by the reciprocal, and when you flip -1/2 over, it's still going to be negative, but now it's -2/1. Remember, when you multiply a positive times a negative, the end result should be negative. So that's why our final answer did come out to be negative. And back up at this step, notice that before they multiplied, they cross-reduced the 2 and the 4. So that's what this is showing here. Okay. Please pause the video and do A, B, and C. Okay, so for A, you should have had this. 3/4 times 4/1 to get a solution of 3. Because the 4's are going to cross cancel to 1. For B, you should have had -4/5 times 9/8. And notice the 4 and the 8 are going to cross reduce, and you get -9/20. Oops, I lied. It should be -9/10. Okay, and this one, you have a negative divided by a negative, so your answer is going to be positive. So we have -5/6 times -3/2. When you multiply that, you get 15/12, which becomes 1 3/12, which is 1 1/4. So you can rewind this and go back over those if you need to. Example 3 talks about what do you do when you have a fraction divided by a mixed number. Well, whenever you're dealing with a mixed number, you want to put it into an improper fraction. So the whole number 3 times the denominator, so 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10/3. And then you follow the same rule. You keep the first fraction the same, and you multiply by the reciprocal. Notice that they are again showing lots of cross-canceling going on to get a solution of 1/5. Okay. Please pause the video and do D, E, and F. And then start it when you're finished. So D should be D divided by 4/3. So I just changed 1 1/3 to an improper fraction. I'm going to write 5 as 5/1, but I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal, which is 4/3. I'm sorry, which is 3/4, and we get 15/4. So 4 goes into 15 3 times with 3 left over. Okay. Letter E is -3/4 divided by 1 1/2 is 3/2. So we're going to keep negative 3/4. We're going to multiply by the reciprocal. We have a negative times a positive, so our answer's got to be negative. Notice the 3's are going to cross reduce. The 1 or the 2 and the 4 are going to cross reduce, and we're left with negative 1/2. Okay. And the last one, letter F, 2 and 1/3 is 7/3, and we're dividing it by 5. So we need to keep the first fraction. We're going to multiply the reciprocal of 5. When you flip it, remember that any whole number is really over 1. So when you flip this, it becomes 1/5. So when you multiply now, 7 times 1 is 7, 3 times 5 is 15 to get 7/15. Okay. All right, turn the page. And please do 1, 2, 3, and 4 as a guided practice. When you're finished, bring me your book so that I can check those and see your work. And then you're going to begin the next page, page 331, 1 through 9 all. Okay? Oops, lots of L's there. All right, thank you.